Everyone take a nice big breath in. Stop right at the top of the breath. I'm going to share some things here, yet in the process really use this as an opportunity to cultivate your condition. That's what I do in every moment. Every moment I'm saying, oh, okay, this is nice. And so once we understand we have this key to freedom, which is our perception, then we have to, that's like having the car. Then we have to understand, okay, well, how do we steward that gift of perception, that key, freedom key. And this is, to me, so important when it comes to learning, whether children, whether anyone. To me, that learning learning is not even the right word because it's so associated with the brain. To me, scratch that. The key to using perception is understanding the simple sequence of how we interact with different things, different structures, really. There's all these different structures, from electrons to atoms, electrons, organs, the body, the planet, the star, the cosmos, the beyond. All of these consciousness, all these are different structures, and if we understand how to flow and navigate through these different structures, then we truly have freedom. And not freedom, that's the kind of freedom that is so worn from the last age or season of, there's some embodied situation or personality, and freedom is like this liberation or nirvana or something. That's all great, and yet that's not really what I'm referring to here. What I'm referring to is freedom as consciousness to flow through structures and always retain natural integrity, coherence, and essence. So once we come to terms with this sacred responsibility of perception, then we can jump in whatever situation you want to address, whether it's learning how to do math, whether it's dealing with a knee injury or some other health situation you're dealing with, whether it's a situation around relationships and not having great relationships, or whether it's around manifestation and having more resources, whether it's around understanding your own condition. It doesn't matter what the thing is. The key is to have a reference of that situation. This is the process, to me, the true process of learning and growing. You set the reference. Oh, okay, you have an injury or situation. Well, once you set the reference, then you apply your resources to, well, how can I change the physics of that situation? And if you don't have all the resources, then you go find someone who maybe does that you trust and can bring in some of those more resources to apply to change the physics. And then the next step is, once you start applying those resources, well, then you kind of check in to see, okay, well, what's happening with the physics? Does it feel like it's improving? Or does it feel like it's getting worse? And then you modulate, and if you don't see the results and movement towards where you're going, then you apply new resources. And if you do, then you keep checking in until you say, oh, that situation, that knee's no longer a problem. Now it's not a problem. So you feel good, and you've gone through that. If it doesn't, then you keep resetting and trying things until you bring it to a place where the reference is now unwound. Once you understand that sequence and understand how to use resources, apply resources, and/or find new resources to situations and modulate and assess, you become naturally a steward for helping things to progress in their range of experience and expression. That's really what all this work that I share is about. All of this, whether it's using lasers. Lasers are a way that I found to use physics of lasers, of energy, of light, photons, to enhance electrons, to enhance ATP in the cell, to use different wavelengths to reach different tissue, to induce scalar waves, to dissolve cell memory and relax tissue to open up and dissolve, to the still point process, which is the same. Still point is a process of using your perception to neutralize. And this is what I was sharing back to what I was sharing. Sorry, I diverged a little. What I was sharing with some folks in Los Angeles, which is that most of the things, your condition here. So by the way, I just shared some secrets. Those are some very key, important secrets, which are no longer secrets, technically. So your field, your condition, is is being affected perpetually by things outside of you, by the relativity outside of your own condition. And mostly, that relativity is doing one or two things in terms of your wave dynamics and structure. Either that outer phenomena is having the effect of enhancing your waves to go faster, your breath, your pulse, your cranial rhythm, which is stress, fight or flight, sympathy, or situations are inducing your waves to go slower. Which is what when I develop products, when I work with people, I'm always looking at waves. To me, this is a whole play of waves. All this language and stuff is really secondary. It's waves, and if you understand that differentiation, so basically you have three things going on. You have positive contraction, you have negative unwinding, where your waves start to go like this. If you start to make conscious choices, whether it's the foods you eat or the things you do or the people you're around or the kind of work you do or where you live or whatever it is, the practices you're involved in, if you make choices that affect your condition by unraveling your wave structure, it can completely change your life. And not only your physical life, but subsequently your condition of being, which to me is really, in the last age it was big body, personality. To me, this new season is about arrival and experience of being, is who we are. We don't come from past, we come from the future, which isn't really future, it's being. So in the third situation, the third state is neutral, still point. So the more your waves unwind, eventually, breath and another breath, and eventually they dissipate. In yogis, they call it a breathless state. The more you practice meditation and deep spiritual practice, real spiritual practice, you naturally arrive in this condition. I never really set out and said, oh, I got to do still point. Still point became a natural state of my condition based on the life experiences that led me to arrive there. And this is so key because there are three things in this cosmos, really. There's positive, there's negative, and neutral, which, by the way, is the scalar situation. Scalar, what is scalar? It's a combination of three things: positive, negative, in perfect phase symmetry. When that happens, you have neutral, scalar. The scalar wave has those three things: positive, negative, neutrality, all woven in one experience. And not only is that scalar phenomena all around us, the entire universe is woven of scalar energy, prana, chi, same thing, scalar. It's also central in our condition. The medical symbol is a scalar wave of energy up the spine. In other words, in your life, if waves are making you stressed, right? If you're having a lot of stress, if you're having a lot of, most likely your wave structure is being agitated from something in your condition, in your relativity around you. And that happened to you at some point, something that happened in the present, something. And the key to that is acquiescing and inducing. It's like driving the car. If you don't want to keep driving against the wall, right? So you flip it in reverse and you back it out a little bit, and then you find a good place and you put it in neutral. Well, same thing. If your body's rammed up like this, and you can check in and say, well, hey, what's going on in my life right now? You pull back, unwind, and eventually reset back in to still point. Still point is the neutral state, the scalar state. Can't say enough. Understanding this and how this all connects. In the technology, the scalar waves, the still point condition, understanding this is really it's helpful. It's not really it's not totally necessary. If you experience it, you don't really need to understand it. But it can be helpful in terms of setting if it's something you want to apply in your life, setting the reference and then digging in and starting to move in that fashion. And that's what a lot of the work that we'll be sharing soon, the new books, online training, are all designed to be a resource for this program.